Hello everyone, before we dive in, a quick update. While creating this tutorial, ImageKit launched a brand new Next.js SDK called @ImageKit/Next, a more optimized package for Next.js project. The code and concept in this video still work perfectly. We are using the ImageKit IO-Next. But if you're starting a new project, I recommend using the official @ImageKit/Next SDK instead. I will drop the link to the new docs in the description. Thanks to our sponsor for this video, which is ImageKit. ImageKit is a real-time media processing product that helps optimize, stream, and transform images and video for the web. It comes with integrated storage and can also work with your own cloud storage, such as S3, GCP, and etc. ImageKit can automatically compress and convert images and videos to suitable format for every device. It offers more than 50 plus URL-based transformation for your images and videos. From simple resize and crop to more advanced features like AI-based crop and watermarking or HLS and dash streaming. They also offer SDKs for all the popular frameworks and languages. And in this video, we'll be using Next.js SDKs. And we are going to use this forever free. As you can see, this is $0 monthly, and we have 25 GB media delivery bandwidth, 5 GB storage, 500 video processing units, 3 users, and it also includes the access to all media optimization, transformation, and streaming features, 650 extension unit for AI operation, and etc. So we are going to build this ImageKit AI transformation. As you can see, we have this upload image and also the preview of the image. As you can see, this is the dashboard. And of course, you can just upload the file from here. You can upload a folders and create a folder, etc. But let's try to upload the file from here. I'm going to select image, and I'm going to select this beautiful girl right here. I'm going to click open. And as you can see, that's beautiful, right? We have the loading, we have the kind of like a bar right there. And as you can see, uploaded successful. And we have the original image on right here on the right side. That's beautiful. And down here we have apply AI transformation. We have two transformation, right? We have remove and change background. So let's try to, for example, remove the background. I'm going to click that. And as you can see, this is basically the URL. And then we have the logic right here. And of course, we can download the image. So let's wait for that. As you can see, this is the result. And then let's try to download the image so you can see the background is just removed. All right, so let's click this file right here. And this is the result. As you can see, that's super clean. And also let's try to, for example, change the background. I'm going to click change background right here. And now we have this prompt to basically describe what the background you want to apply in this image. So I'm going to paste this prompt right here, a simple green forest background with soft light and trees. So let's click apply effect. As you can see, will be load. All right, as you can see, this is just a beautiful, and I think I love this because this look really cool. So of course I can download the image as well. All right, this is the downloaded version. So let's click that, and this is the result. As you can see, how cool is this? This is just perfect. I mean, look at this background right here. I mean, this is look incredible cool. So that's what we are going to building, guys. So hopefully you learn a lot of things from this video. And yep, we are going to use ImageKit. So let's just get started. All right, so the first step, what we are going to do is let's generate the brand new Next.js application with this command right here. Go to installation, and then as you can see, npx create next app lattice. And I'm going to give a name AI transform app. Just hit enter. TypeScript yes, ESLint yes, Tailwind I'm going to say yes. Source I'm going to say no. App router of course. TurboPack yes. Import alias just say no. Okay, great. So let's cd to the AI transform app folders, and I'm going to open that inside Visual Studio Code. All right, so the first file that I'm going to go to is going to be the root of the app, which is on the layout right here. So I just want to change the title of this app right here. I'm going to change that into AI transform with, let's say, imagekit.io, just like that. And also for the description, I'm going to say transform images with AI using imagekit.io. And also let's now go to the home, which is on the page.tsx on the root. And I just want to remove all of this. Just use simple hello world. And let's try to run the app by running on the terminal npm run dev. It will open the localhost 3000. As you can see on the title right here, we have AI transform with ImageKit.io, and then we have hello world. Let's go back to VS Code, and then let's just try to put h1 right here. I'm going to say ImageKit AI transformation, and let's just add class name on the pattern right here. I'm going to remove that div and then change that to main tag. Also right here, I'm going to say minimal height into screen, which is 100 view height. And also I'm going to put padding to 8. Also the background, change that to gray 100. Like that. And inside the heading one right here, I also want to add class name. It's going to be text3xl to make it a little bit more bigger. And then the font, I'm going to make sure it's going to be bold, text center, and also the margin bottom, setting that to 8. Okay, let's take a look. This is what we have. The text should be on center. And also still inside the main, I'm going to create a div. So basically inside this div right here, I'm going to put 3 sections, right? So at first put maximal width to 6xl and then mx auto to make sure the maximal width here is going to be on the center. So inside this div, basically we have 3 components. The first thing is the image display section. This is basically for the input, upload image, and also for the preview of the image. And then we have the transformation section. This is basically for the transformation options, so we can select like remove background, change background, something like that. And also the last one is going to be the transformed image section. This is basically component for render the result of the image after transformation. Okay, so let's create all that component inside the component folder. I'm going to create component folders, and inside that, let's create the image display section.tsx, and also let's create the transformation section file. Let's go inside a component.tsx, and also we need to create transformer image section inside the components. Let's do that .tsx. Okay, so first, of course, we need to generate component right here, transformed image section. So of course, we need to change the component name like so, right? And also let's go back to transformation section. Let's do RFC, change the name of the component into transformation section like this. Let's go back to image display. Let's do RFC, change that into image display section like this. Okay, so now we can just import all of that. So let's do first the image display section, and also the transformation section component, and transformed image section. Okay, we have these 3 components right now. Great. And of course, it will render on the browser. And the next thing is basically let's working with the image display section. Alright, so in this div right here, I'm going to add class name called the display. I'm going to change that to display grid, and then the grid column, I'm going to setting that to just 1 column. And also for the medium size of the browser and more, I'm going to make sure the grid column is going to be 2 column. And the gap, I'm going to set that to just say 8, right? Because inside this div is basically have 2 components. So between that component, it should be have gap 8. So in this one right here, I have the input upload, and also down here we have the preview of the image, like this. So if I save that, and as you can see, we have 2 column, right? If I open that on the mobile, as you can see right here, it's going to be 1 column right now, and the space is going to be 8, right? And basically, I'm going to wrapping this input with another div. Let's do div, and inside that right here, I'm going to add class name. The background, I'm going to set that to white, and also the padding, let's do 6. Also the rounded, I'm going to say large, and then add some shadow to, let's do medium. Save that, and as you can see, it looks like this. Also, I'm going to basically just copy all of this div, right? And then paste that down here and just make sure this preview image should be inside that shadow right here, inside the background white and etc. Let me go back, and as you can see, it look like this. Okay, so I think I'm going to change this to heading 2, and then this is going to be have tags. Let me do original image like that. Let's add some class name on this heading 2. The text is going to be XL, and then the font I'm going to make sure it's going to be semi bold, and also the margin bottom, let's setting that to 4. Okay, it look like this. So under the heading 2, I'm going to put another div. This is basically the image will show, right? So before I render the image in here, I'm going to make sure that this div should be have aspect ratio video. So let's do class name aspect ratio video, aspect video like this. And also I'm going to make sure the background is going to be gray 200. And also the rounded, I just want to make sure that it's going to be a medium. Also the overflow is going to be hidden. Let's do overflow hidden. The overview hidden is really useful if the image go outside this aspect video. Okay, so let's save that and let's take a look on the browser. This is what we have. Okay, for now, just like this. So let's try to see how we can upload image and how we can get the image right here. So let's go to the ImageKit.io and click sign up right here. And then I just want to sign up with my Google account. After you sign up, it will redirect you to the ImageKit dashboard. We're going to back in this dashboard later, but for now, let's go to ImageKit documentation, right? So in here, basically the first thing is let's find what the SDKs you use. So in this case, we are going to use Next.js. So let's click the Next.js right here. And now just follow along all the instructions. So first, what we are going to do, let's create an app. We're already doing that. And then let's just scroll down a little bit right here. Yep, we need to install this ImageKit io-next. All right, so let's just copy this command right here, open the terminal, and then let's just paste that right here and then hit enter. And what we need to do next, so let's scroll down right here, and basically we need to create .env.local so we can put all the next public key, next public URL endpoint, and then the private key from the ImageKit.io. Right, so let's first create the environment variables. I'm going to create that file on the root like this. And now let's go back to the dashboard and we are going to get all the value right here. So first, I think I'm going to copy that and paste that right here. So let's go back to documentation, to the dashboard of the ImageKit, and go to the developer options right here. As you can see, we have all the value. We have the public key right here, copy that, and just paste that to the public key right here, paste that in. And also we have the URL endpoint. I'm going to copy this one and then just paste that right here. And also the private key, which is right here. I'm going to click this icon. And as you can see, because I log in with Google, of course, now ImageKit asking me to use a password in order to show the private key. So let's try to go to the profile page and we're going to set the password right here. So I'm going to use a random password from the Google Chrome and click submit right here. So let's try to go back and then I'm going to click that again. So let's just fill this password right here, click submit. So now I can see my private key. I'm going to copy that and just paste that right here. So let's go back to the dashboard of the ImageKit. As you can see right here on the digital asset management on the media library, by default, we have these two files, image and a video. So let's try to render this image. Let's go back to documentation. And as you can see, I think we can do right here, right? Rendering images. We can use the EK image component from the let me scroll up, ImageKit io-next. So let's try to do that. First thing is we need to update the next config and we need to paste these images in order to use the host name right here. So let's try to open the next config and then just paste that right here like that. Great. So now let's take a look how we can render it. So we can use it right here. Okay, so let's copy that. Go back to image display, and then we are going to import that on the top right here. And just make sure the component should be client component. Let's try to also put that client on the top right here. Use client. How we can render it? Simple. We can just copy this example and then just paste that right here. As you can see, EK image component need to have URL endpoint, and the URL endpoint it should be come from the env file like this. Okay, so I'm gonna copy that variable, just paste that to the outside the component right here. Let's put that. As you can see, URL endpoint set equals to process.env.next public URL endpoint, which is this right here. We also have path props in this EK image component, and as you can see, we send this default -image.jpg string. So this is basically the name of the file. If I go back on the dashboard of ImageKit, as you can see, this is basically the name of this image file. And if I copy this URL, as you can see, this is basically the long URL. As you can see, if I paste that on the browser, this basically will render that image. So we can use this long absolute path URL. As you can see, if I go back to that documentation, we can basically use the absolute path, which is long URL right here. So we can use source props. Instead of using path, we can use source and then just paste that value right here. So if I save that, this is basically will do the same thing on this result. As you can see, this will just do the same thing. So anyway, because the EK image is just kind of like image tag, of course, we can put like class name right here. I'm gonna set the width to full, height to full, and the object to cover. Let me try to refresh. This is what we have. I'm gonna change the object to maybe contain, just like that. Let's try to see. I'm going to refresh. This is what we have. And also I can change the width, for example, 500. Here we go. I think this is fine. Also, for the render of the image, instead of using EK image, we also can use image component from the next/image. So I'm going to show you right here. I'm going to import image from the let's do image from the next/image, and we can use that inside this right here, just like that. And of course, we don't need to send the URL endpoint in this case. Just remove this one and just try to save that. And now hopefully we still get the same result. Let's go back to the code, and I just want to change the alt right here to something like, this is basically the original uploaded image. The reason why I use this image come from the next, not use EK upload, because I just want to preview the image right here. I'm not going to add any kind of manipulation image. If you want to add manipulation image in EK upload, you can do that. As you can see on the documentation right here, basic image manipulation. For example, you want to maybe resizing the image, you can add transformation props on the EK image. You can send height and width. You can also do quality manipulation. You can add transformation and quality and etc. I think the documentation is just pretty easy to follow. So let's see how we can upload the image. On the right side right here, there is a tab called uploading file in Next.js. Click on that, and as you can see, we have to basically install this package right here, ImageKit. So let's open a terminal and then open another tab right here. Just hit enter, npm install ImageKit. Let's go back to documentation, and as you can see, we have to create API/out/route. So I'm gonna copy this one right here, copy that, and inside the app folders, I'm going to create API folders, out folders, and then route.ts in this case. So let's hit enter, and I'm going to just copy and paste the content right here. Just copy that and paste that right here. So basically we don't have to use this request in this route right here. This is just create the get request. So if I go to, for example, localhost 3000/API/out, as you can see, what happened is we get this response. So basically we have a token, expire, and signature. After you get this one, so it means everything should be works. Let's go back to documentation. After we get all of this, Now we have to basically create this function, authenticator function, so we can send that function on the image provider. But first, we are going to create the image upload function. Inside the component folders, I'm going to create function file called image uploader.tsx rfc. Let's change that to image uploader. Great. So now we can just import that right here. Let's say image uploader. Great. So let's go back to image uploader. And in here, basically, we need to create this function. I'm going to copy all of that and just paste that inside the image uploader component. As you can see here, we get the public key from the environment variables and we create the authenticator. This is basically async web function. And on the try, we basically make a GET request on the localhost 3000/API/out. But I just want to remove the localhost 3000 right here. This is basically just do the same thing. And if the response is error or not okay, if this is false, this is going to be and return this error right here. I think this is fine. And if everything is okay, if the response is okay, this is going to be return the signature, expire, and token. Okay, great. And if something wrong happened, this is just return new error right here. I think I just want to remove this message. Just do it like this. It's fine. So now let's try to go back to the documentation and we are going to copy all of this. I'm going to copy that and just paste that right here. Just like this. And of course, we need to import the ImageKit provider and we are going to create the URL endpoint because we don't have yet. Let's copy from the documentation right here, URL endpoint, go back to VS Code and just paste that right here. All right. And what we need to do next, authenticator set equals to function authenticator right here. And this is basically what we are going to render the EK upload, which is component for the upload image. Let's go back to documentation. And as you can see down here, okay, this is upload an image. We can use EK upload basically. So how we can use that? This one right here. I'm gonna copy that and just paste that right here. EK upload should become from the ImageKit IO. And then for now, I'm going to create that function on error and on success. Or I think we have the example on the documentation. Just copy and paste that. Okay, really simple. If something error happened, just console log error. If the success is run, just console log the success. Okay, let's try to go back in here and where is that? I'm gonna go back to localhost 3000. As you can see, we have these input fields right now. I'm gonna click that. As you can see, it will open the file and of course I can upload an image. So basically we can upload the image by just go to dashboard. For example, you can upload directly from here. This is also works, by the way, or we can use that EK upload component. Let's try to do that. I'm going to upload this beautiful girl right here. I'm going to click open and then let's see on the console what happened. As you can see, we have success right here. And of course, if I open my media library right here, if I reload, of course, we should have one image right here, right? The file name, it should be, let me see, test upload, because we're setting this file name to test upload, right? And the rest is going to be just random number, random string. So what we are going to do now is basically we need to preview the image after we upload it. As you can see on the console right here, basically we have the URL. This is basically the link that we have to paste on the original image, right? If you take a look on the code right here, basically we put the image upload right here and we render the image right here. So how we can send the value from the image upload into the image right here. So we can create like a state right here to get the URL. It also works, but I like to have kind of like global state to just play around with the value of the URL. So I can get the URL to anywhere component I like. So basically I'm going to create context API to do that. Let's see, I'm going to create context folder right here like this. And inside that, I'm going to create a file called app context like this .tsx/2rfc, and then I'm going to change the component name into app provider. And also on the top right here, I have to create the context. So let's do cons app context. Set equals to react.create context, but I just like to import create context just like this, come from the React. All right, by default, just put empty object for now. So in here, we need to just return that app context. So we can do like app context dot provider, just like this. And we have to basically return children inside in here. Children, just like this. So basically the children should become from the props. So I can get that right here. So let's say children, and the type of this, it should be React node. So here I'm going to say children should be react.react node like this. We still get an error right here because we need to send a value. Okay. So let's say value, and then basically I'm going to create state right here. So I'm going to say cons, and then the name of the state, I'm going to say uploaded image like this. Let's say URL. And then, of course, it should come from the use state. We need to import that use state come from the React. And by default, I just like to put empty string like that. And also we need to send the value right here. Or I think we need to create kind of like context value here, cons context value set equals to. So I'm going to put the uploaded image URL and set uploaded image URL. So I can put the context value right here. Just like that. So now we have to wrapping our layout with this app provider. And then basically we need to wrapping all of this children with app provider. Like this. So now we can basically get the value. Let's try to get that from I'm going to get that from the image upload, for example. So I think I'm going to create custom hook on the app context so we can use that context easily right here. I'm going to create command, let's say custom hook to use the context like this. And let's say cons, I'm going to export cons. I'm going to say use app context. Use app context like this, and let's see what this GitHub Copilot suggests. So it's create context and get the use context, app context, great. And if there's no context, just throw this error, and yeah, I think it's fine. Let's try to use this on the image uploaded. So let's try to say cons. And then I'm going to get the uploaded image and set uploaded image come from the use app context. Great. So let's try to console log the uploaded image URL, and this is going to be an empty string, of course. We get the error here. It's just because on the context here, we have to change this component into the client component. Okay, great. So now as you can see, we have the empty string right here. If I go back to the context and try to change the default value to something else, for example, just example, refresh, as you can see down here, we got that just example. So that means this works. We can just use the value, upload image URL value on whatever component we want, as long as we wrapping the layout right here with app provider. That's it. So now what we have to do is pretty simple. We need to run the set uploaded image URL after the uploaded success. Of course, it should be inside in here. So we can say if the response.url have a value, I'm going to set the uploaded image URL into rest.url. Okay, and of course we need to just kind of like add type right here. I'm going to say URL is going to be a string. Okay, great. So now let's try to, why this is still error. Set upload URL does not exist on type empty. Oh, I think we have to go back to context right here. We need to basically create the type of the right here, uploaded image URL. So what I'm going to do here is let's create a command. I'm going to say define the context value, context type. Okay, so first I'm going to create interface called app state. And then inside in here, I have the uploaded image URL and set up uploaded image URL. How cool coding with AI, right? And then we need to just put that type right here. So you can say it's going to have type app state, or I'm going to say undefined. And by default, I just want to put undefined value. Okay, great. So now let's go back in here. As you can see, the error is gone. Great. So now as you can see, upload image URL, I'm going to remove it because I'm going to use that inside the preview of the image, which is right here. So I can get that value here, just like this. And of course, we need to get the uploaded image URL and just send that value right here on the source. Okay, so upload image URL or empty string. Let's try to see. As you can see by default, there is no image in here. So I think what I'm going to do is just try to add condition. If the load image URL have a value, what I'm going to do, let's return this image. Wait, let's return this image right here. And or we're going to return kind of like, maybe let's just see what this GitHub Copilot suggests. As you can see, no image uploaded yet. I think that's fine. As you can see, no image uploaded yet. Great. So if I try to, let's try to, I think I'm going to remove this image, right? Delete that. And we are going to upload that again. Refresh it. Just make sure everything should be clean. Great. Let's go back and I'm going to upload that image again. Upload it. And then it should be rendered that in here after a couple seconds. Here we go. That's cool. Right, we get the image. Pretty nice. So next, let's try to working with the transformation section component. Let's go to transformation section component, which is this component right here. The first thing is I'm going to get the value first, this value right here, right? Copy that, go back to transformation section and just paste that right here. Of course, because we're using context right here, we need to change the component into the client component. So we can say use client. Okay, so in here, what I'm going to do, let's try to check first. If there is no uploaded image, I'm going to just kind of return please upload image to see the transformation. I think it's fine, but I have to add kind of like margin vertically to maybe 10 or something like that. And here we go. Okay, cool. So here, if we have the uploaded image URL value, what I'm going to do, let's try to remove this div. And then I'm going to just try to do div, add some class name in here. The margin top, let's set that to 8, background white, padding to 6, and also the rounded, I'm going to say large, and shadow medium. And also we have the heading to text Excel, font semi-bold, and transformed image. I'm going to basically change this text into apply AI transformation like this. And down here, we need to just put component. So in this case, I'm going to create component called transformation controls. We don't have yet this component, so let's try to create that. Here, let's do transformation dash controls .tsx. Let's do RFC. Change that to transformation controls like this. So now we need to import that in here. Okay, great. So if I go back, we have the, as you can see, we still got this one right here because we don't have image. So I think I'm going to put this image by default on the context. Let me put that right here. Okay, just for create the UI. As you can see, we have the apply AI transformation and we have the transformation controls. Great. Go back to the section here. I think I'm going to make sure this is uppercase. Great. Now let's working with the transformation controls. So let's first create the UI. I'm going to add class name. I'm going to say space y to maybe 6. And inside in here, I'm going to create another div. And then I'm going to put label. And this label here, it should be have text like, I think select transformation, just like this. And add class name. The display, I'm going to say block. Add text small. Also the font, say medium. Also the text, let's say gray 700, and margin bottom, say 1. Okay, so under here, I'm gonna use select tag like this. Just remove the name and ID, and inside that, I'm going to put, for example, option, and this is basically for the value empty string. I'm gonna say select transformation. If I save that and let's take a look what we have. As you can see, we have this drop down, kind of like select, right? If I have another option, for example, as you can see, of course, we have that option as well. So let's try to, I think I'm going to make this 100% width. Let's go back. So inside of select here, I'm going to add class name, and the width, I'm going to make sure this is a full. Also the margin top, I'm going to say 1, display block, and also the padding left, say 3, and padding right to 10. Let's try to see. Okay, this is what we have. As you can see, if I focus on that field, we have this border color right here. So I'm going to remove it. So you can say like focus. If focus, I'm going to make sure the outline is none. Let's try to do that again. As you can see, it's gone. So now I'm going to create the transformation option array so we can map through that value right here. So basically, I'm going to create that on the top. Let's say on the top right here, I'm going to say cons transformation option. And I'm going to put this object right here. Basically, we have two objects inside this array. The first is basically ID background remove and change background. Then the name, remove background standard, and also this one right here, change background, right? So we can map through that transformation option right here. I'm going to map through that in here. We can say transformations option dot map, and we can get the individual option. And then in here, we can just return the option like this. It's going to be option tag, right? And I'm going to put the option name. So you can say option.name. And also here we need to send key, of course, option.id like this. Let's try to save. And as you can see, if I click, we have two options basically. So what is the important thing from the transformation option in here is basically the ID. So the ID, I'm going to send that to the parameter of the URL of the image. And as you can see, the ID for the remove background, I use bg remove. For the change background, I use change bg. So if you take a look on the documentation right here, I'm going to take a look for AI transformation, which is this one right here. I'm going to click on that. And as you can see, there's a lot of things. There's a background removals, ImageKit background removals, change background, and there is a generative fill, AI drop shadow, retouch, upscale, and there's a lot of things, right? There's a lot of things right here. I hope you can see that. Okay, there's a lot of things. But I just like to show you how to remove background with the ImageKit background removal, which is this one right here, and change background. As you can see on the pricing, so basically there's a unit between all the services. If you're using background removal, which is this one right here, using e-remove.bg, this is basically kind of like the premium way to remove the background, right? It's like a 130 unit. This is I'm using, which is e.bg remove. bg remove, that's why I use bg remove on the ID, right? It's just like a 10 unit. And for the change background, I use the change bg, which is this one right here. Right. For example, let's take a look on the ImageKit background removal, which is this one right here. This is what I'm going to use. And yep, the way it works, it's pretty simple. We have to just need to send Let me go to the example right here. As you can see, we need to just send a parameter tr set equals to e-bg remove, and that will remove that background. Just that's it. How cool is that? And also, for example, change background, we need to just send the e-change background. As you can see, this is the example, I believe. Yep, as you can see, we need to send tr set equals to e-change background dash prom and whatever you want to replace the background. In this case, this is have snow road, right? So that's why I use change bg on this ID. So next, I'm going to add prom and then whatever the new background, I'm going to putting that right here. Okay, great. So now let's take a look on the code. So we can select everything in here, right? The option. And now let's try to get the value. I mean, when I click, for example, the change background, I need to get the value, which is this ID right here. The way we do that is first I'm going to create state. So instead of create the state right here, I like to create the state on the context so I can use that anywhere I want. So let's try to add another state right here. I'm gonna say cons. I'm gonna call this selected transformation and set selected transformation. And by default, I'm gonna setting that to, let me see, null right here. So now let's send the selected transformation into that context value and also the set selected transformation into the context value so we can get that value on whatever the component we want. So for example, in here, I'm going to just copy the value here, selected transform and set selected transformation, and then go back to transformation control. What I'm going to do, let's say cons, grab that, set equals to, use, it's going to be app context, right? Use app context like this. So now we get that value. So if I, for example, set the value on the select right here into selected transformation, it should be fine. But if I hover this right here, property selected transformation does not exist on type app state. So what happened is I should go back to app context and add that type on this app state right here, basically. So let's do selected transformation. It should be string or null, and also set selected transformation, which is the function right here. It should be transformation. It should be string or null and returning void. Okay, it's fine. Let's go back here, and as you can see, the error is gone. As you can see on the value, we also get that error because the type of the selected transformation is basically string or null, but in this case for option value empty string, we should putting this as a default value. So that's why in here I'm gonna add or empty string, because by default it should be show this value right here, right? Select a transformation. If I go back, if I refresh, as you can see by default, it should always show the select a transformation. Great. We get an error here because we don't put the onChange handler on the select right here. So let's do that. OnChange set equals to. So I'm going to create a function called handle transformation change, and then let's do that on the top right here. Cons handle transformation change set equals to arrow function, and the type of the event here, it should be a change event. Right, and here I'm going to say set selected transformation into e.target.value. Just like that, but we get the error in here. Property value does not exist on type event target. Change event, I think I'm going to put HTML select element, just like this. Now it should be fine. Let's try to just put the value. We're already doing that, and in this option we have to put value as well. So the value what we are going to store on the state is basically the ID, right? So I'm going to say option.id. Great. So let's try to console log the value here. I'm going to console log that, and let's see what we have on the console. As you can see, by default is null, right? Null right here. If I change that to remove background, as you can see, I hope you can see that. Okay, as you can see, if I select remove background, it show on the console bg remove. If I change that to, for example, change background, we have change background. So now I like to just render the description under in here, under the select, which is the description right here. All right. So the way we do that is in here. The first thing is I'm going to get the specific object that active. So I'm going to say cons and then selected option, transformation option dot find. And then here I'm going to get the option and then option ID equals to selected transformation like this. So now we get the selected option, right? So here I'm going to render it under the select tag. So I can say if the selected option have a value, what I'm going to do, let's say return something in here. So I just want to render p tag and put the selected option dot description. So as you can see, it will show the description right here. If I change that to remove, it also show the description of the remove background. Let me just styling this a little bit. Let's do class name, the margin top say 2, and text, let's make it small, and also the color, I'm going to do text gray 500. Save that, and this is what we have. So now let's working with the transformed image section component. Let's go back to transformed image section right here. And the first thing what I'm going to do, let's try to get the uploaded image URL, and also I'm going to get the selected transformation. Okay, it is going to become from the use app context like this. And here I'm going to check if we have the uploaded image URL and we have the selected transformation. What I'm going to do, let's return something in here. If the value doesn't exist on these two value, I just want to return nothing. Okay, so in here, let's try to just add some class name on this div. I'm going to do margin top to 8, background white, also the padding, I want to say 6, rounded large, and shadow medium. And inside that, I have heading to, let's add some class name here that have text XL. Also the font, let's do semi bold. Also, I want to put margin bottom to 4. Okay, let's take a look. We get this error, of course, because when we're using use app context, we need to change the component to the client component. Okay, everything should be fine. But as you can see, there's no value here because it's not selected anything on the apply AI transformation in here. If I select remove background, for example, now the transformed image will render. Great. So in here, what I'm going to do is render another component. So the component name, I'm going to say transformed image. We don't have yet, so let's create that component. Inside the component folder, let's create a file called transformed-image.tsx. Let's do RFC and just paste that like so. So now let's import it. Here we go. I'm going to close this section, and now let's working with transformed image. So first, I like to create the state. As you can see, we have two states basically, transformed URL and is loading. So let's try to import the use state first. Transformed URL is basically the URL of the image after transformation, and is loading is it's loading. We are going to make this true when the image is not yet rendered, so we can render kind of like loading component. Because we're using use state in here, of course, the component it should be a client like that. So now in this div, what I'm going to do, let's try to add class name space y24. And also inside this return, let's render a div. This div it should be have aspect video, right? Aspect video like that. And also the rounded, I'm going to make sure this is a medium. Also, I'm going to set that to relative, and then the background, let's say gray, let's do 200. Just make sure the overflow should be hidden. Save that. Let's take a look. This is what we have. Okay, really cool. And down here, I like to show also the URL, and under that as well, I'm going to show the download button. Let's go back, and then under in here, I'm going to create another div. Okay, this div should be have a padding 4, and then background gray to 5T, and also rounded to medium. We have basically this p tag with text small and font medium. This is basically transformation URL, and we are going to render that right here. So let's do transformat URL, or if the transformat URL is empty, I'm going to say not yet transformat, or I think I'm not going to use not yet transformat, but I'm going to say no URL generated yet. Okay, cool. Let's try to see this one right here. I'm going to put this right here inside a p tag as well, like this, and add some class name right here. So for the class name, I add this text to extra small, font mono, break all, margin top 2, padding 2, background gray 100, rounded, border, and the border color is gray 200. Let's try to see. This is the result, all right? Look like that. And also under this div, I like to have one button. So this is basically a download button. Let's do a with button, and then inside that we have a text called download image. Let's add class name here. The class name should be inline block, and also the margin top to 4, px4. And py should be 2, and the background I'm setting that to blue, let's say 500, and also the text, let's change that to white, and the button, it should be rounded. Also, when I hover that button, it should be changed the background to blue, let's say 600. So let's try to see what we have. We have this download image button right here. If I click, nothing happened, of course, but at least we get the layout. Okay, so now how we can set value inside the transformat URL state. So we can do that inside the use effect. So let's do use effect like this. So first we need to check if we have the uploaded image URL or not. So we can say if we don't have the uploaded image URL, we're going to just return nothing in here. Upload image URL should come from the context. So we can do that in here, cons, and then we can grab the uploaded image URL, set equals to use app context like this. And also just make sure we're adding that dependency right here. After we check the uploaded image URL, we have to check also the selected transformation. So we can do selected transformation here, selected transformation. And also we need to check that down here, or the selected transformation is empty. We also need to return nothing. Just make sure adding that as a dependency of the use effect as well. So what I'm going to do now is how we can get the name of the file inside the URL. So let me just show you what happened. So I'm going to copy this one right here, and then the uploaded image URL, it should be something like this, right? For example, image file dot png, for example. So how we can get the name of the file, right? So we can do that like cons path set equals to, we can get that from the uploaded image URL, right? This is basically the long URL, which is right here. And then I'm going to replace that, replace with the URL endpoint. I'm going to put the URL endpoint on the top right here, right? This is basically next public URL endpoint. This is basically this one right here. So I'm going to replace all of this with this one right here, right? So I'm going to put the URL endpoint, and I'm going to replace that with just empty string. So now the path should be just return the name of the file. I hope you get what I mean. So let's put the URL endpoint as a dependency of this use effect. Great. So now we get the path or the name of the file. So now I'm going to create a variable called trstring. I'm going to using let in here because next I want to change the value from these trstring variables, and the value is tr equals because next I want to put value or string in the front of this tr equals. So here I'm going to say switch, right? And then I'm going to put the selected transformation, and then inside in here I'm going to say case. For the case one, if the selected transformation have a string value bg remove, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say tr string equals to bg remove, not just bg remove, because as you can see on the documentation, we have to put e-bg remove. So that's why in here I'm going to say e-bg remove. Okay, and also I'm going to add another case for the change background. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say tr string into, let me go to change background right here. We need to put this one here. So I'm going to copy that and then put that right here, just like that. And the text for now, I just want to put maybe blue sky or whatever. Okay, because next we are going to make sure this should become from the input field. But for now, it's fine. Here, I'm going to say break. So what I'm going to do after that is build the transformed URL. So what I'm going to do is create new URLs variables and put the URL endpoint, which is come from this env variable, and then put the path, which is the name of the file, and then put the tr string after the equals as a parameter, right? So, and then the new URL should be setting that inside the set transformed state right here. So we have the value on the transformed URL. So first thing what I'm going to do is go back to context right here and just make sure we remove this uploaded at right here, because when we upload image, we just have this right here, the URL and also the name of the file. Okay, so after that, let's go back right here, and then we are going to basically remove the background. Okay, I'm gonna click that, and as you can see, there's no loading, of course, because we did not add any loading, but let's just wait for the image render. But as you can see on the transformation URL, we get the value, right? Oh, I forgot that because we don't really do anything with the image, I believe, on the transformed image. You see right here, we're not doing anything. So that's why this is just an empty, of course, because inside the, let me go inside this aspect video div, we're not doing anything in here. Okay, so now let's render an image. So basically I just want to copy and paste come from the image display section, this one right here. I'm going to copy all of that. Let's go back to transformed image, just paste that like this. The image should become from the next image like that. And this uploaded URL, I'm going to change that into the transformed URL. Transformed URL like this. The alt right here, I'm going to change that into transformed URL like that. Let's try to see what the result we have. Let's try to remove the background again. As you can see, we get an error here. So anyway, this error is basically we cannot put empty string on the source. So of course in here we need to add the condition before we render the image. So in this div, I'm going to cut that div, right? And then I'm going to put, if the transformed URL have a value, I'm going to render that div like this. So let's try that again. I'm going to refresh it. And let's try to remove the background. And hopefully now we get, here we go. As you can see, this is basically the remove background. As you can see, there's no background on this image, right? That's pretty cool. And the download functionality is not work yet. We're going to make that work. So let's see on the button right here, we need to add on-click event. On-click set equals to, I'm going to create a function called handle download. Let's create that function on the top right here. Let's say const handle download set equals to arrow function. For the download functionality, we're going to use file saver package. I'm going to copy that package and let's try to just install it down here. And then how to use that, it's just pretty simple. We need to import the save as. So we can do import save as. It's going to become from the file saver like this. As you can see, if I hover that, we get an error here because we also need to install the type. So let's do that again in here. I'm going to say npm install save dependency type file saver. Great. So now the error should be gone. Great. Now what I'm going to do is let's try to do that save as inside the handle download. So the first thing is I'm going to check if the transformat URL doesn't have value. There's no reason we need to download the file, right? So I'm going to say return nothing in here. And then I'm going to say try and catch. Okay, I'm going to catch the error like this. So on the try, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say const response set equals to await. For the fetch, I'm going to fetch the transformat URL like this. And then what I'm going to do is if the response is not okay, what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to throw new error just like that. If the response is okay, I'm going to say const, I'm going to blob await respond.blob. So basically, because we're using await in here, we need to make sure this function, it should be async function, just like that. And then after we get the file, what we're going to do is we're going to say save as, and then here basically the file name, which is transformat image.jpg. If something wrong happened, what I'm going to do, let's just say console.error download failed error, just like this. So now let's try to download that file. I'm going to go back in here and let's try to remove the background. Here we go. We get the value, we get the image. If I click download image, as you can see, we have the file right here, and this is basically the result. How cool is that? So now let's handle the loading. In here, inside this div, I'm going to add, if the isLoading is true, I'm going to render component called render loading like this. So let's create that component. Inside the component folder, I'm going to create file called render-loading.tsx. Let's do rfc, change that to render loading. Great. So now we can just import that right here. Nice. I just want to paste this really simple loading component. As you can see, I use loader icon from Lucid React. You can just install it with npm install Lucid React, right? And as you can see, I adding animate spin to make this icon spin, right? And just use like display flags, item center, justify center to basically make all this div into the center, and we have really beautiful loading. Okay, great. So the next thing is we need to make sure the set loading after the image is rendered is going to be back to false. So inside this image, we can add something called onLoad and onError. If the image is rendered, it will be set loading to false. If something wrong happened, it also set loading to false. I also want to make sure this image should be unoptimized. And also I'm going to send key right here. Key, it should be transformat URL. I also want to make sure that when I set the transform image on the top right here, after that, I want to set the isLoading to true. And then after the image load, the set loading back to false. Okay, I think everything should be fine. So let's try to refresh. So we get clean everything in here. So let's try to remove background. As you can see, we have this beautiful loading, and then we get that image. How cool is that? We have the transformation URL down here as well. And also the change background is not yet works, because when I click that, nothing happened, because I like to, when I click change background, the input field will pop up and we can type any background we want. Okay, so let's try go back to the transformation controls, I think right here. Okay, so what I'm going to do in here is first I'm going to check if the selected option.params have a value. That means if I select, for example, the background remove, we don't have params. Of course, we don't have to show this div. Okay, if I select the change background, the params have a value, of course it will render this div. Okay, so here I'm going to add a class name space y. I'm going to setting that to 4, and inside this div basically I have heading 3 that say parameters. I also want to add just class name text large and font medium, and under that I'm going to map through the params. So I can say selected option.params.map, And just take a look what the GitHub Copilot suggests this one. Let's take a look. It basically returning div with key params.id. And then we have the label, params name, and then input. Okay, so let's try to save that and let's take a look what we have. If I select change background, as you can see, we have these input fields. We have parameter, background prompt, and then we have input field right here. So let's try to just styling this input field a little bit. So I'm going to change the class name styling here with this really simple styling with margin top 1, display block width full, border color, rounded medium, shadow small. And when I focus on that field, it should be remove the outline. When I focus that, it adding this ring and etc. Just really simple styling. Let's try to see. Oh, yeah, cool. So anyway, as you can see here, we get this beautiful input field. As you can see, why this is happen, it's just because by default, okay, by default, we just put the prompt right here, blue sky. So that's why the background is just changed to the blue sky, right? Okay, so let's try to working with the parameter first. So I'm going to store the value for the input right here into the param state. So let's scroll up and I'm going to create another state right here I'm going to call this params, just like this. And of course we need to import use state. This component of course should be client component because we're using use state in here, use client. And then let's scroll down a little bit. This is going to be a string in this case. And by default, I'm going to setting that to empty string. Great, so let's put the params right here as a value on this input. So we can say value into params, just like this. So we can say on change, so it equals to, we grab the event and then we can say set param event target value. So now if I, for example, just console log the params, now we should get the string basically. So let's try to open inspect console, and then as you can see, if I typing something in here, we get the value on the console. That's pretty cool. And also I want to add the button right here, button apply transform or something like that. So let's try to do that down here. I'm going to add button. So under the input here, I'm going to create basically button. So let's do button and then add the class name. This is basically the class name with background blue and text white, padding y2, padding x4, rounded medium. So inside the button, what I'm going to do, let's try to put a text. So the text is going to be apply effect, just like this. So let's try to see what we have. I'm going to go back and as you can see, we have that button. Great. So here I'm going to add on click event. So we can do on click. And here I'm going to run arrow function. So what I'm going to do in here is basically I'm going to send the value from the params here into the global state, which is on the context. So let's go back to the context first, and we're going to add another state in here. Okay, so I'm going to call that state, say cons. I'm going to call this transformation params and set transformation params. Okay, so I'm going to use state right here. And then I think what I'm doing wrong right here, I'm going to remove all of this and just make sure by default is empty string. Just like that. And we are going to send the transformation params down here. And also we need to send the set transformation params right here. Great. Also, don't forget to add the type right here. So the type is going to be transformation params and then set transformation params. Great. So now we can get that value. So I just want to copy this one, go back to transformation controls, and now let's get that value here. So I'm going to say transformation params and set transformation params. So I'm going to say set transformation params into params, basically on this on click. So first I'm going to check if we have params value. Okay, I'm going to set the transformation params into that params, just like this. So now we can access that on whatever we want. So of course we can get this value. So basically we are going to get that value and using that inside the transform image right here. So let's try to go to use app context, and I'm going to get that value here. And then of course we need to check first if we have that value or not. Okay. So here, after I check the selected transformation is change background, I need to check also the condition if the transformation params have a value. I want to do this string right here and put that like so. What I'm going to do is just replace this blue sky into the like this. Okay, so we can say transformation params like this. Great. So let's try to just to make sure we have that value. I want to console log the transformation params like this, and hopefully we get that value. Okay, so let's try to refresh. Hopefully everything should be clean. Now let's try to click the change background. As you can see, it's processing the image, but of course now nothing happened really in here because we don't put anything on the input fields. So let's try to do something like, so for the background prompt, I'm going to put this right here, make the background look like a hand-drawn cartoon. So let's try to do that. I hope this works. Let's click apply effect, and then, yeah, I think we don't have apply the is loading. I think it's not working, the is loading, I'm not sure. But as you can see here, there is no value after tr. I mean, this is something wrong happened, of course. Let me take a look on the console, and we have the value. Good. That means here we get a value. Of course, this if statement will be true, right? And this is should be run. But I think the problem is because we not put the transformation params as a dependency on this use effect. So let's do that like C, and then let's try to do that again. I'm going to reload. So let's try to click the change background. This prompt right here, make a background look like hand-drawn cartoon. So let's click apply effect. As you can see, that's what I want. We get loading. And then of course, the transformation URL right here, we have e change bg dash prompt, and then dash make the background look like the hand-drawn cartoon, etc. And we also have the value on the console. That means everything should be fine. But as you can see, it's still loading, and hopefully soon we get the, as you can see guys, that is a beautiful, it's successfully, that means we already applied that the background here, right? So let's try to download the image. I'm going to click download image. As you can see here, we get that file. That's pretty cool, pretty clean, and I love this so much, by the way. Great, everything should be works, but of course by default I don't like this image. We are going to remove it. Okay, so let's go back to the app context, and I'm going to just remove this one right here. Remove it, and by default it should be empty string, and by default it should be look like this. So the last thing I'm going to show you in this video is basically how to customize the upload right here, the upload button, because now it's not look good, right? We are going to customize it, so we have kind of like the progress bar and something like that to make this beautiful. So anyway, the functionality is done, I think, right? So now I just want to play around with the upload button to make it look nice. So the first thing is, let's go back to the image uploaded, and in here basically the first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure the ek upload it should be hidden. So I'm going to put this style. It's basically inline style, visibility hidden, height 0 and width 0. If I save that, of course it will gone. Okay, so now let's try to just styling this file upload a little bit. Or I think I just want to remove this heading too, and this div right here as well. I just want to remove that. And under the ek upload, I'm going to basically create the custom upload image. So first thing first, we are going to create state on the top right here. The state is basically the upload progress and upload status. I'm going to import use state. Just make sure this component should be use client. Let's do use client component, just like this. Let's scroll down. So first I'm going to render a div, and inside that I'm going to put class name. And this class name is basically border2, border dash, and rounded large padding 6 text center. And also if the upload status equals to uploading, because as you can see on the state right here, we have some value, idle, uploading, success, and error. Okay, if the upload status is uploading, I just want to change the opacity to 5D, just like that. And now inside the div, Basically, first, I'm going to check the condition. If the upload status equals to idle, I'm going to, for now, just do this p tag right here, click to upload image. So let's see what we have. As you can see, this is what we have, right? Looks super nice. And let's go back in here. Of course, I'm not going to use this p tag. This is just suggestion from the GitHub Copilot. So let's use a div right here, and I'm going to say p tag, and then now I'm going to say click to upload. Click to upload, just like this. And I'm going to add some class name on this p tag. The margin bottom, I'm going to set that to 2, text to small, and also the text, I'm going to say gray, let's say 500. Let's try to see, we have this one right there. Cool. And also we are going to put another p tag here. Let's say png, comma, gpg, up to, let's say 5 megabyte. Okay, it's going to be 5 megabyte like so. And inside this p, I'm going to add class name, text to extra small. Also, I'm going to change the text to gray, let's say 500. Save it. Okay, great. Also, I'm going to put input. So here I'm going to say input field. The type of this is going to be file. And then the class name, I'm going to make sure this should be hidden, right? And I'm going to accept just for the image with any extension, basically. And so I'm going to put star. And then ID, I'm going to say file dash input. Okay, save that and let's take a look. This is what we have. All right, the input is hidden. If I just comment that, as you can see, we have the choice file right here. If I click, of course, it will open the file on my system. Let's go back here and of course just make sure this is hidden. So next, let's create the button. When I click that, it will trigger this input. So let's do button, and then here I'm going to set the text to select file. And then if I click this button, I'm going to do on click event. I'm going to run this arrow function, and in here I'm going to say document.get element by ID. I'm going to get the file input ID here and then just run click. Okay, so let me try go back. I just want to styling this a little bit. Let's do class name. Let's set the margin top 4, padding x4, padding y2, background blue, text white, rounded, and when I hover it, it's have kind of like a background blue 600 and transition colors. Let's try to see. As you can see, if I click, the input file will trigger, as you can see. So now let's handle another condition for the upload status. So let me enter right here. Let's say upload status equals to uploading. Okay, so let's take a look what we have. I'm going to change the default value to uploading. On the state right here, change that to uploading so we can see the uploading UI. So I'm going to create another state on the top. So let's just paste that right here. This is basically upload stat that have loaded 0 and total 0 by default. I just want to copy and paste all the content inside the upload thing right here. So this is what we have. As you can see, we have this loader 2. It's come from the Lucid React icon and adding this animate spin. If you take a look, I just want to comment this one first. And as you can see right here, we have this upload file, right? And basically the color right here, background blue, is now is 0. That's why you cannot see any background color right here. You can just see this background gray, right? So now let's try to update the upload progress to, for example, 45%. If I save that, it looks like this. Okay, you get the idea. I'm going to make it 0. Let's scroll down a little bit. And then now let's try to run this format bytes right here. So I'm going to create a function on the top. So I'm going to paste that right here. This format byte function is basically just return this string. Okay, so let's try to see. As you can see, this is basically return this one right here. We have 0%, etc., etc. Okay, it's look clean. So now let's adding the another condition. This is basically for upload status equals to success. So if the upload status equals to success, I'm going to return this div right here. I just want to paste that like this. As you can see, we have circle, text circle icon, and also we have reset upload function. So let's do that on the top right here. Const reset upload set equals to arrow function, just like this. To see the UI, we can just simply change the default value to success. This one right here. So let's go back, and as you can see, this is the UI if the upload file is success. So this reset upload is basically just reset the progress to 0 and set the upload status back to idle, which is on the first time right here when we upload the file. Great. So the another condition is going to be the error. So let's do upload status equals to error, and I just want to copy and paste the content again. So I'm going to paste this UI right here that have X circle icon. As you can see, this is just simple text with reset upload function button as well. Let me go back and change that into error, for example. So let's change that to error. And now this is the UI look like when I get error when upload file. So the question now is how we can upload the file. Let's go back to the input. Let me scroll down. As you can see, when I click this button, basically it will trigger this ID file input. This is basically this input. And I'm going to add on change event on this input here. As you can see, first is just prevent default and then run the upload via SDK and send these files. So let's create the upload via AK SDK function. So basically, I just want to copy and paste this function. I get this function is basically come from the documentation right here. This is basically, let me scroll up. Bro. Okay. This is have a title Next.js image and video upload. It's written inside the ImageKit IO block, right? This is basically step by step how you can create custom button to upload image or video with Next.js. It's pretty beautiful block. And as you can see here, we're just using this upload via EK SDK function. And this is basically the function, right? This is the function. I just copy and paste that. All right, so let's try to go back. And then the next thing is we are going to create the EK upload ref. So let's do that on the top. So let's putting that right here, EK upload ref set equals to use ref. Come from the React. This is basically HTML input element. So I'm going to put the EK upload ref into the EK upload right here. So just put ref and then set equals to this EK upload ref. And I just want to remove the file name here. So this function is basically will trigger the EK upload component programmatically. So you can learn this function or just leave it like this. I think it's fine as long as we know what this function do. And basically the EK upload component have this on upload progress prop. So we can send the on process function on that. Here I'm going to create the on progress function. This is basically a row function like this. We can get the E right here. As you can see, the E have a type length computable is Boolean, loaded number, and total is should be number as well. So first, we are going to check if the e.length computable have a value. I'm going to set the upload status to uploading, right? Now, of course, the uploading UI will render. And then after that, I'm going to create progress and then set upload progress into this progress and set upload state to this loaded and this total right here. And also if the upload is success, we run this on success, right? And in here, we need to run the another thing, which is first, I'm going to run the set upload status into success. That means the success UI will render and set uploaded progress to 100%. And also in here, I just want to reset all the set selected transformation and set transformation params to just, I think this one is going to be empty string, right? So let's try to import all of that from the context. Let's import that from here. And also we need to import the set transformation params from the context as well. Okay, great. The last thing is this type error here is error. So I'm going to change that to unknown or something like that. Undefined is fine. Okay, great. We have some problem here on error. Okay, we have to change that, I think. So let's scroll up. Instead of undefined, I'm gonna change that to unknown. Okay, just like this. So now the code is clean. There is no TypeScript error right here. I think it's fine. So now let's try to see the upload. I think I'm going to refresh. And yeah, we need to change the default value from the upload status is going to be idle by default, like that. And now we can upload image, right? All right, so now let's try to upload new image. As you can see here on the media library, we don't have any image, just 3 images right here. I'm going to select file and just click this man right here. I'm going to click open. And as you can see, we have the loading and great. We have the image on the right side, cool. And also we have the apply AI transformation right here. I can basically remove the background. As you can see, is have loading. And then of course, this is the URL, great. And then after a couple seconds, it should be render the image without a background because we set the background to remove. Okay, this is the image. I'm gonna click the download image. All right, as you can see, this is successfully downloaded. And as you can see, this is the result. Pretty cool. And also let's try to change the background. I'm going to change the background right here. And then let's try to give any prompt right here. So I just want to paste this prompt right here, change the background to magical forest with glowing and etc. and etc. So let's click apply effect. As you can see, we got the loading. And then of course the transformation URL is right here. Just wait for that. And as you can see, this is the result. Really, really cool, right? This is the original. This is the result after a transformation. So let's click download image. So let's try to open it. As you can see, this is the result. All right, that's pretty cool. So I think that's it, guys, for this video. Thank you so much if you follow along this video until the end. And then I think this image kit is really powerful. You can create like a SaaS or something like that with this image kit. It's really powerful. So thank you so much and see you on the next one.